Susan Whitaker always believed hard work would eventually be rewarded. She just never imagined the reward would go to someone else. Growing up, Susan and her older sister Melanie couldn't have been more different. Susan was dependable, Melanie was exciting. Susan studied, Melanie partied. Susan helped at the family's small restaurant every weekend. Melanie couldn't wait to leave town. Their parents adored both daughters, but there was always a soft spot for Melanie. When she was around, the room seemed to revolve around her. At 18, Melanie ran away with her boyfriend, leaving behind a brief note and a trail of broken hearts. For the next 8 years, nobody heard much from her. Meanwhile, Susan stayed. After graduating college with a degree in business management, she returned home to find Whitaker's family restaurant barely surviving. The roof leaked. The equipment was outdated. The customer base was shrinking. Her parents were exhausted. Susan rolled up her sleeves. For 5 years, she worked 14-hour days. She redesigned the menu, renovated the dining room, built a social media presence, negotiated better supplier contracts, introduced catering services. Slowly, the restaurant transformed. Then it exploded. People traveled from neighboring counties to eat there. Food bloggers featured it. Local magazines named it one of the state's best family-owned restaurants. Profits tripled, then quadrupled. Susan's parents couldn't stop bragging about the success. For the first time in years, the family business was thriving. And then Melanie came home. Alone, divorced, broke, and carrying enough regret to fill a freight train. At first, Susan felt sympathy. She welcomed her sister back, helped her settle in, even offered her a job at the restaurant. But 6 months later, everything changed. During a family dinner, Susan's father cleared his throat. "We've made a decision." Susan smiled. She assumed they were discussing retirement plans. Instead, her mother reached for Melanie's hand. "When your father and I retire, we're leaving the restaurant to Melanie." Silence. Susan blinked, certain she had misunderstood. "What?" Her father sighed. "She's your older sister." Susan stared at them. The joke never came. The explanation never made sense. Years of sacrifice, years of work, years of building, given away with a single sentence. Melanie looked uncomfortable, almost guilty, but she didn't refuse. That hurt even more. Susan stood, slowly, quietly. "Then I wish you both the best of luck." And she walked out. 3 months later, she left town. Most people assumed she would eventually come back. She didn't. Instead, she bought a run-down 20-room hotel on the edge of a lake nearly 3 hours away. The place was a disaster. Broken windows, peeling paint, mold. Half the rooms were unusable. Everyone told her she was crazy. Susan smiled. They had said the same thing about the restaurant. For the next decade, she rebuilt the property from the ground up. Then she bought another, and another. What started as one neglected hotel became a collection of luxury boutique resorts, then conference centers, then vacation properties. Eventually, the Whitaker Hospitality Group employed hundreds of people. By 50, Susan was worth tens of millions. More importantly, she was happy. Back home, things hadn't gone nearly as well. Without Susan's leadership, the restaurant slowly declined. Melanie lacked the discipline, the passion, the vision. Customers noticed. Revenue dropped. Staff turnover increased. Debt accumulated. By the time Susan heard about it, the business was barely hanging on. One autumn afternoon, her parents appeared unannounced at one of her resorts. They looked older, smaller somehow, defeated. Over coffee, her father finally spoke. "We made a mistake." Susan remained silent. Her mother wiped away tears. "The restaurant is failing." Still, Susan said nothing. "We were hoping," her father began. Susan already knew what came next. They wanted money, advice, a rescue, the same rescue she'd provided her entire life. She looked out the window at the resort she had built, then back at her parents. For a moment, she felt the old urge to help, the old instinct to save everyone. Then she remembered the dinner table, the decision, the years she had given away. No. The word wasn't angry, it wasn't cruel, just final. Her parents looked stunned. Susan! I built that restaurant. Her voice remained calm. You gave it away. Neither parent argued, because they couldn't. You taught me a valuable lesson. Her father lowered his eyes. What lesson? Susan smiled softly. That sometimes the best thing you can do is stop saving people from the consequences of their own choices. The silence that followed was heavy, but it wasn't painful. It was honest. For the first time in her life, Susan wasn't carrying the weight of everyone else's decisions. And as her parents quietly left the resort, Susan returned to the life she had built herself. A life nobody could take away. Because unlike the restaurant, this empire belonged entirely to her. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.